A leaf has three organs: the root, the stem, and the leaves. The root's function is to take water and nutrients up from the soil and get that to the plant. The stem will then take the water and the nutrients that came up from the roots, and it will drive it through the plant to the other parts. The leaf is where the photosynthesis occurs, and that amount of nutrients that are created in photosynthesis, those will also be transferred through the stem. What we're going to be focusing on for this chapter is the leaf. So if you'll take a look here in the top left-hand corner of the screen, you'll notice that this is a leaf cross-section. The idea behind a cross-section is that it gives you, it's almost as if they took a leaf and they cut it in half and they're showing you what is in between where they cut it. So let's take a look. We've got these gray squares that are on the top and on the bottom. Those are the cells. Those are the guard cells. They're guarding the inside of the leaf plant, or I should say that they're guarding the inside cells of the leaf. You'll notice on the inside and outside, you can't really see on the top, but here and here you will see these structures, which are called, let me erase a little bit here so you can see the word. These are called stomata, which is a word you're going to want to know. A stomata is an opening that the plant can open or close, open to bring in more of the carbon dioxide when they're taking that in to do photosynthesis, and let out more of the oxygen that is a product of photosynthesis. More importantly, for what we're talking about right now, is this section here called the mesophyll. This is a section, as you can see, between the inner and outer guard layer. And you'll see that there are several cells in the mesophyll, and within each cell, you'll notice these little green dots. My stylus is not making dots, but you get my point. The little green dots are the chloroplasts. And the chloroplasts are inside the mesophyll cells, and that's where the majority of, or that is where photosynthesis is going to occur. So what we've done is we have come from our cross section of the leaf, and we're moving over to here. If you'll take a look, this is actually an electron microscope picture of the mesophyll cell, which is this whole piece, and then they've isolated for you some chloroplasts. We've got a chloroplast here, and we have a chloroplast here. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about the chloroplast so you can see what parts are involved. If you take a look, I'm going to switch to another slide, but before I do, if you take a look here, this is actually an electron microscope picture of the chloroplast, which is here. So I've got another slide that I like. This is an up-close view of the chloroplast. Here, I'd like to point out that the chloroplast has a double membrane, just like the mitochondria in the last chapter. There's an outer membrane and an inner membrane. Unlike the mitochondria, however, the inner membrane is not folded, this being because there is no part of photosynthesis that occurs on the inner membrane, therefore there needs to be no folding for an increase in reaction space. What does need to be noted here are these little discs here. Each of these little discs, and you'll notice there are a lot of them, is called a thylakoid. And a thylakoid is where part of the process of photosynthesis occurs. In fact, the first process that we'll be talking about, which is the light reaction. When you stack these together, like you see over here, we call a stack of thylakoids a granum. If we were talking about all of the stacks, here, then we call it a grana. The last piece that I'd like to show you before we begin talking about each of the stages of photosynthesis is the stroma. The stroma is all of this fluid that surrounds the thylakoids, and this is where part of the photosynthesis reaction is going to occur as well. In the stroma will be the Calvin cycle. So that wraps it up for the structure of the leaf and the chloroplast. On the next topic, we'll be talking about the first part of photosynthesis.